It's me, Ari Dossett, in Comrade Sheet. I'm your anthropologist and sociologist. Thanks for being here in this live stream. Hit the like button, share this live stream, subscribe to the channel, become a member of the channel, and don't forget to donate with the links below. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. I'm using XSplit Broadcaster today because I consider this software, in some aspects, I, I know how to navigate it better than OBS. I can work with OBS perfectly fine, but I, from time to time I'll be using this software too. Praise the Lord. And just let me know in the live chat you can hear me clearly, please. There's a little delay of around 5 seconds. So sometimes when I ask a question, I'll wait a bit longer. Or so understand there's a latency of like 5 seconds, so pay attention to that, please. But anyway, I can see the live chat in front of me now on my mobile phone, which is good. So I want you to confirm to me whether or not you can hear me clearly. Okay, can you all hear me clearly? Let me know in the live chat, please. Let's see, Derek Yashrael is here. I'm doing well, Derek. Thanks very much for asking. Can you all hear me clearly? Let me know. Okay, you can all hear me clearly. That's good. So I can begin with the topic of today. The topic of today is actually a common sense warning that I've repeated for the past 10 years on my channel. I didn't repeat it every video because I have over 6,500 uploads, I believe, including hundreds of live streams. But it's something I've repeated over and over again. And for the new subscribers who just came in recently for the past few weeks or past few months, you may not have seen all these other uploads because I can understand it's thousands of uploads. I don't expect you within just a month's time to be updated with tons of uploads. I don't expect you to do that, okay? So I'm going to repeat it in this live stream. And what is the warning I'm talking about? It's actually quite simple. And if you're here and you're not in traffic, so you're not driving a car while listening to this live stream, because if you are, you should pay attention to the road, please. Thank you very much. No accidents under my watch. Thank you. But if you're here and you can type in the live chat, I want you to repeat the following statement in the live chat because it's very important for you to remember. Anyone invested in wishful thinking will harm you eventually. Repeat this in the live chat. Anyone invested in wishful thinking will harm you eventually. I want all of you to repeat this in the live chat, all of you that's here. I'm going to repeat it one more time, and then I'm going to wait for a half a minute for you all to repeat in the live chat. Anyone invested in wishful thinking will eventually harm you. Okay, repeat it in the live chat. Repeat it, please. I'll wait for 30 seconds. Okay, 15 seconds more, then I'll continue. Anyone invested in wishful thinking will eventually harm you. Hold on. God is good. I'm going to share my screen with you also. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Just one moment, please. By the way, are you all doing well? Let me know, please. Let me know if you're all doing well over here. All right, God is good. right. Okay, let's see. How do I add the source over here? Okay, so let's make this. Okay, can you all see the screen? Let me know, please. You should be able to see it, but I want to check for sure. Everything's well with me over here, Derek. Thank you very much. Okay, you can all see the screen. Again, a 5 seconds delay, so okay. You can see the screen, so what is wishful thinking? When you look at the Cambridge Dictionary, because A, I'm speaking English to you, so it's an English term, wishful thinking, so I want you to understand what wishful thinking is and what it's not. Alright, so here you see, wishful thinking. It is the imagining or discussion of a very unlikely future event or situation as if it were possible and might one day happen. An example is given is, do you think you might be in line for promotion? No, it's just wishful thinking. Um, or wishful thinking, another way to explain it is the imagining of an unlikely future event or situation that you wish were possible. For example, we talked about buying a house someday, but right now it's just wishful thinking. Okay, so what wishful thinking comes down to is that there is an outcome you want or that you're longing for, but the outcome is not probable. Now, there's a difference between possible and probable. Okay? Now, we're on the dictionary anyway, so let's look probable. Probability. Okay, let me look at this one. Okay, what is a probability? It's a lot of ads over here. A probability is the level of possibility of something happening or being true. So it comes down to this. If something is most likely to happen, most likely to be true, then it's a high probability. If something is very unlikely to happen or unlikely to be true, there's a low probability. Now, a possibility is something may or may not happen. A probability is it likely to happen? Okay? For example, let's say there's a lottery out there, and the lottery can win 20 million euros. Okay? Now, a lot of people buy the lottery because they hope that they may win the 20 million euros or another prize. Is it, if the lottery is a true lottery with an actual jackpot that can pay out, then there is a and they actually made a winning ticket, then there is a possibility someone may win the jackpot. But what if the lottery is a scam? There is some $20 million jackpot and they just want to make money off of people. In that case, there is zero possibility that someone can win the jackpot. So let's say there's a lottery, again, let's say you buy a lottery ticket and you think there's a real jackpot out there. But what if the jackpot does not exist? They don't have the 20 million to pay out anyone. So the winning ticket does not even exist. They print all the possible tickets and the winning numbers they never print it because they know they don't have the jackpot to pay out. They will not make a winning lottery ticket if they know they don't have the jackpot to pay out. So all these people buying the lottery, they are thinking that there's a possibility of them winning, but the possibility is zero. So there is zero probability because the jackpot ain't there. But let's say there is a jackpot out there. Let's say there is a $20 million jackpot. And there is a winning ticket also. But let's say now that 2 million tickets are sold for this lottery. And only one of them is a winning ticket of 20 million. The possibility of someone winning 20 million is there. But is it probable that someone might have the winning ticket? The probability is quite low. Okay? So is it worth it to hope and rely on the possibility of winning that lottery? No, because the probability is low. Okay, Another example. Let's say someone was raised in Brazil, okay? And how high is the probability that they will speak English later in life? Now, knowing that Brazil is interconnected with the world's economy, where English is the spoken language, and knowing that even in daily life, a lot of things are done in English, there is a high probability that this individual that was raised in Brazil will end up speaking English. All right? But is it probable that this individual that was raised in Brazil would end up speaking Arabic? That is a high probability if they have Arab ancestry or if they choose later in life to do Arab studies or if they convert to Islam, whatever. If someone in Brazil decides to convert to Islam and Arabic is the main language in Islam historically, then there's a high probability they'll end up speaking Arab. But if someone is just born in Brazil with no ties to the Arab world nor Islam and they come from a poor area, then still there's the probability they will end up speaking English, but the probability of speaking English fluently will be low. Okay, let me give one more example of probability, because you need to understand where I'm going with this. Let's say now that, let me think of a good example. Let's say you have someone who was raised, let me say, someone was raised in, let's say, Italy. So they are, and because of that, they have a type of common characteristics that are common to people in Italy. And let's say this individual moves to, let's say, a place like the Netherlands, where the common characteristics in society are a bit more reserved. How high is the probability that this individual in Italy will find a similar individual in the Netherlands? The probability is low because it is possible, because you may have people from Italian ancestry or from similar cultural backgrounds who have the same similar characteristics. But in general, just walking throughout the Netherlands, you will not find that. Or let me give another example, and then I'm really going to continue with the live stream. How high is the probability to find an African individual in a Chinese village in mainland China? Probability is quite low. Why? Because it's China. The main ethnicity are the Han Chinese people. Or you've also Chinese minorities living there. So it's very probable, it's a high probability to find an African individual in Nigeria, or to find an African individual in, let's say, Chicago, because they're from African ancestry. But it's a low probability to find an African individual in a Chinese village, Chinese town, somewhere in mainland China. Okay? So is the term probability clear onto you now? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know if it's clear to you. Is the term probability clear onto you and how to use it in daily life? Alright. In life, there are many possibilities. Some possibilities lead to good outcomes, other possibilities lead to bad outcomes. That is clear. And too often, we are focusing on the possibilities that will give us the outcomes we want. Now, in life, listen, we are born in a fallen state due to the fall of Adam, okay? And because of that, our physical bodies are mortal. So our physical bodies are not indestructible. Our physical bodies will become indestructible when Jesus Christ comes back and resurrects us in immortal human bodies, which are immortal physical human bodies. That will happen when Christ comes back. But for now, our human bodies are fragile and mortal. All right. So if your body gets injured beyond repair, for example, you lose body parts, there's no way your body can recover from that. Okay. Now you need to carry artificial limbs with you, whatever. So what I'm saying is, our bodies are mortal and fragile. All right? So in this lifetime, you're guaranteed um, to experience people dying. Whether it's you losing your parents because they pass away, or you lose your children, I hope not. No parent should have to bury their child, God forbid. But you may lose loved ones or friends because they die, or maybe you have a favorite artist, whether it's I don't know, maybe it's some artist that passed away. For example, when Michael Jackson passed away, a lot of people were sad. Now there are conspiracy theories about it, but I'm not going into that right now. Or maybe it's a politician who was of good quality and he passed away, whether due to an accident or of old age or whatever. So people pass away. That's one thing. Another thing that is obvious about life is that because of the fallen state of mankind, a lot of people want to escape challenges in life. And because it's the norm that people want to escape, you are going to have people that will ghost you, abandon you, leave you without any justification. You'll be there thinking, what the heck did I do? Why did the individual abandon me? Listen, it has nothing to do with you. Some people are just unstable and they make unstable decisions. So you'll have to accept that such things are going to happen too. And because fallen mankind is in a fallen state, you also have malfunctioning happening or accidents. Some accidents are fatal, others are damaging. So you also have risk in daily life. Now, all of this is not fun to accept, but it's the reality of being out there. Oh, and here's another thing. As a human being, you have requirements. You have physical requirements of your physical body, which relates to you need sleep properly, you need to eat, you need to drink water, and you need movement for your body, and you need clothes. You also have spiritual requirements, which are psychological and emotional. You need connection with other people, you need a proper self-worth, and all of that. And if your requirements are not met, you become dysfunctional and you become damaged. Simple as that. So you're interdependent on other people. We all began as a little baby, totally dependent, and then become interdependent later on. So you being a vulnerable creature that's interdependent on other vulnerable creatures, the risk of people failing you or the risk of things going wrong will always be there. Now, all of these things are not fun things to accept about reality, but it's things you have no choice but to accept. You know what I mean? So if you accept all these facts about reality, then you realize that, hold on a minute. Where do I find my security? Who can actually secure me in daily life? Well, the answer is the Creator. Only the Heavenly Father Himself can secure you. Because He has no requirements. He is eternal. He, because He's eternal, is also automatically immortal. He cannot die. And He holds everything together with His mind. So you're always on His mind. Everyone is on His mind. So the Heavenly Father is the only one that can give you security and certainty. Alright? So by being realistic about yourself, by having self-awareness, you realize very quickly, hold on a minute. I can't secure anything by myself. I can't even guarantee by my own efforts I'll wake up the next morning. I can't even guarantee by myself that if I walk out of my house today, I'll guarantee to come back later this evening in all pieces. I can only affect my own, I can only directly affect my own behavior. I cannot enter other people's head, go into other people's mind and make them behave a certain way. Now, you can certainly affect and influence people's behavior, but you can't actually change them for the better on the inside. So some people will not change. So even when it comes to your human relationships, realize that you by yourself cannot secure that others will treat you well and all of that. So the only one that provides real security and certainty is the Heavenly Father. So once you develop self-awareness, you also realize that, hold on a minute, is quite challenging and be quite overwhelming, but hey, God who created life and created me and established heaven and earth, He is faithful and true, so I need to trust Him. When a human being has self-awareness like this, they develop humility, and because of humility, their empathy levels are healthy, and they become a human being of quality, and they realize they have no choice but to trust Heavenly Father unconditionally. Alright? That is how it should go with all human beings. If it goes like this to all human beings will be believers serving the Heavenly Father. Amen? And despite our fallen state, we would have a paradise-like existence on the earth right now. But question to you, Is that the case right now in the world? Let me know in the live chat. Is that the case right now in the world? Let me know in the live chat, please. Let me know. Is that the way it is right now in the world? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The opposite is happening. Even amongst believers, a lot of believers were not really humble. Believers lack self awareness. So understand this. You can't, listen, even if we had immortal bodies, our bodies will still be fragile and we still need to face challenges because we're independent creatures. So life itself, human life, is built to have challenges in it. So as a human being, you have to be realistic and accept this. But the default state of human beings is they want to run away from the challenges of life. They want a space of ease where they're left alone and unbothered. While this space of ease where they're left alone and unbothered is an attempt them to have control. And here's the thing, none of us have control. Only the Heavenly Father can control, because only He has all the power and all the abilities and all the experience. We don't. We can only manage outcomes and influence outcomes, but we don't have control. Nevertheless, a big portion of our species, they crave control because they want to escape challenges in life. It's one thing that you want to prevent bad outcomes or you want to prevent damage. That's a healthy thing. But it's a whole nother thing if you develop this obsession, you want to avoid the challenges of life. This escapism of fallen mankind is what the Bible calls sin. And all of us were born in the sinful condition of escapism. It's only by becoming born again through faith that we now can become delivered from this escapism and truly walk in life as God intended it to be for us. Alright? So the default state of the world is escapism. And because of that, violence is also the norm in the world. Because to insist on escaping is to be violent. Why? Because as a human species, we need one another. All of us need to do our part so that we are all safe and staying here on the earth. Just one human being deciding, oh, I don't want to deal with life, I just want to be left alone and be at ease. That means this individual is only concerned with their own ease. They're not concerned with the well-being of other people. As a matter of fact, they're not even concerned with their own well-being, because if they were concerned with their own well-being, they wouldn't be thinking as dysfunctional as that. So people continuing in dysfunction because they don't want to face life is violence. And some people actually become violent and harmful to others just to escape. Alright? So again, all the fairy tales of wanting this quote-unquote private life or personal space where you're unbothered and in control, you need to give that up because that will never happen because it's not reality. Anyone who insists on wanting to be left alone, having this space of being unbothered, they're craving control, something they can't have as a creature, so they are operating in a delusion. And eventually they become delusional. Is this clear onto you? Let me know in the live chat. The live stream is not over yet, but I just want to ask you to know, is this all clear onto you? Let me know. So understand this. As a believer, as a human being in general, but I'm touching believers right now, those who are in Christ, we have to assess people for what they are at the moment we encounter them. Let's say someone has the flu. When you encounter them, you need to keep your physical distance, or else the flu virus may jump onto you, meaning you will get the flu too. So there needs to be a little physical distance. Later, when the individual is recovered from the flu, that physical distance can disappear. Okay? Or let's say now you walk down the street and someone has just been shot with been gunned down. You have to keep your distance to call the ambulance because you cannot approach an individual now they're laying on the ground bleeding to death. Once they have recovered in the hospital, now others can approach them. So what I'm saying is, when you encounter people, it's natural that you consider the condition they're in when you encounter them. Maybe someone didn't sleep well last night. They have sleeping problems. That's why they're not that attentive. Okay, even if they do their best to be attentive, you need to admit, okay, they're not in a healthy condition now, so I need to adapt how I relate to them. If someone, if you approach people and you always expect high quality unconditionally, I'm sorry, but what's wrong with you? You're out of your mind. You shouldn't be doing that. It's one thing to expect people to be accountable. That's something we all should be accountable. But it's a whole nother thing to expect the best quality unconditional from people, regardless of the context. That's that can even be evil. You see what I mean? So, as a human being, especially as a human being serving the Heavenly Father as a believer, you have to assess people as how they are at the moment you're dealing with them. I'm not saying people cannot improve, become better human beings. It happens in daily life. There are human beings that improve, become safer and better human beings. But you're not certain whether or not someone will change and become a better human being. Now, some people it's highly probable that change become better. That's true. With others, probability is low. But whether probability is low or high, listen. You need to, when you're dealing with them, you're dealing with them as they are right now. So you need to assess how people are right now. Maybe someone is schizophrenic and go through a mental breakdown and they feel threatened. In that case, keep your distance because the individual doesn't know what they're doing. They've mentally collapsed and they need intervention. If you get close to an individual during their mental collapse and they end up attacking you, listen, they're not evil nor harmful. They were just in a mental breakdown and you should have realized, okay, they're in a mental breakdown right now. I need to keep my distance. I need to call for help for them. Approach someone during the mental breakdown, whether it's schizophrenia or whatever, and you get injured, even the police would tell you, but sir, you did see the individual's mentally collapsing, right? Why did you come close to them? You know they can't think clearly. You see what I mean? Just wait till he is calmed down and he got the treatment, and now you can approach him. You should always assess people how they are the moment you're dealing with them. And if they are people you can deal with in a safe way, praise God, deal with them. If they're not that safe to deal with, be a bit reserved. If they are actually evil or dangerous, then you keep your safe distance. Simple as that. Well, that's common sense, right? That's reality. But I'm telling you, it will surprise you how many believers do not make proper assessments when they're dealing with other people. As a matter of fact, it's quite disturbing, extremely creepy and disturbing how many believers don't make proper Christ-centered assessments when they're dealing with other people. And the reason I'm saying this because it is, look, from a drug addict in the world or someone who was a porn addict and expect such dysfunction, or from someone who's demon possessed, I can expect things like that. But I shouldn't expect these things from fellow believers. But there are many believers out there. They never do proper assessments on the people they're involved with. As a matter of fact, these believers, they don't even properly assess the situations they get themselves involved with, which is even worse. Now, remember the statement I told you to repeat in the live chat in the beginning of this live stream. Anyone invested in wishful thinking will harm you eventually. Alright. I'm going to give a few examples to illustrate this to you. Okay? Alright. Let's say, I'm going to give an example now, a parable, and just think with me. Let's say you have, I'm going to use a female example first. You have a lady. Let's call her Stephanie. Stephanie grew up in a common Christian home where people go to church every Sunday, but they're more religious than actually spiritual. You get me? And she was always taught you need to work hard, be polite, be a good person, and you guaranteed life will go well with you. And she came from a sheltered environment. She was quite sheltered growing up. So she now developed this expectation that in life, if you just do things according to the formula of society, be a good person, be kind, work hard, respect people's restrictions, what you call boundaries, things go well with you. She really believes this. Okay? Now, based on observation of reality and what the Bible is saying, will it end up going well with this Stephanie, with this mindset? Will it go well with her in life if she has this mindset? Let me know in the live chat. What do you think? Will it go well with her in life with this mindset? Let me know in the live chat. What do you think? Mm-mm, mm-mm. It will not go well with her. Why? Because it's not reality. It is true that in this sheltered environment, she can act that way and everything goes well because it's a sheltered environment where people are at their best behavior. But in real life out there, with fallen mankind and all these damaged, toxic, and even dysfunctional people out there, or people that are wounded, you cannot go through life with such an unrealistic bias. But here's the thing, Stephanie has been raised that way. She has been rewarded for behaving that way. So let's say you encounter this Stephanie. Let's say Stephanie or Jessica. It's Stephanie. Let's use the name Stephanie, please. So let's say you encounter Stephanie in life. Would you trust this Stephanie? And tell me why. If you say yes, tell me why you would trust her. And if you say no, tell me why you wouldn't trust her. Would you trust this Stephanie who has this mindset since her youth? If no, give an explanation live chat why. If you say yes, also give an explanation. I want to wait for 1 minute to see what you're answering. Would you trust this Stephanie if you would encounter her as an adult? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know. I'm going to wait for 1 minute to get your answers. Gonna wait a half minute more. Let me know. And also give me a short explanation. Would you or wouldn't you trust this Stephanie with this mindset if you encounter her as an adult? 30 seconds more, then I'll continue. All right. Leah said, "Will not trust her. Mindset is not realistic, so her choice and action are subject to error." Absolutely. You shouldn't trust her. Is it because she's a bad in the person? Is it because she's evil or a narcissist? Whatever? No. She's not a bad person. She's not a narcissist. She's not a psychopath. She's not a sociopath. She's not evil. Okay? But the problem is because her bias is so unrealistic, anything she does is bent to be dysfunctional. Okay? Derek said in the live chat, no, because she might run from solutions when things don't go her way. Absolutely. Now, here's the thing. If this Stephanie eventually encounters bad situation and realizes, hold on a minute, something's wrong here. And if she eventually realizes that, hold on a minute, why do I keep encountering bad people like this? If she eventually admits that her bias that she grew up with is wrong, if she's willing to look in the mirror and admit that she was raised the wrong way, it's going to be a painful discovery, but she's willing to face the painful reality that she was raised the wrong way. Guess what? She may have a mental breakdown over it. She may have to go into therapy, but at least there's hope right now. Now, because now she realizes that she needs to improve. But what if she's not willing to face anything? In this case, two things can happen. Either she becomes hyper delusional, always looking for a good explanation and excusing other people's behavior, or she may end up being so depressed that she develops another type of wishful thinking, which is becoming bleak and pessimistic. A lot of the people, they become bleak and pessimistic in their attitude in life. They become that way because their other wishful thinking, which is if you just do what you're asked to do, things won't go well. The other wishful thinking don't work. So understand this. People who are pessimistic, always think the wrong in situations, and always expect things to get worse. Such people have wishful thinking too. Why do they think in such a damning way? Their doom thinking is because they want to escape, face themselves, and facing life's challenges. They're not open to solutions. So the best way for them to justify, at least they can't justify, the best way they can excuse themselves by acting like, well, everything is going to shit anyway, or people are going to die anyway, so what's the use? People who are pessimistic like that, they don't want to engage in solutions because that requires them to admit their own error and to comply in a vulnerable state. But they don't want to do that. Then there are people, they don't become bleak and pessimistic, but they only want to focus on potential good outcomes. So anytime a bad outcome happens, they either will dismiss a bad outcome like it never happened, like nothing goes on, or they will excuse the bad outcome, or they will come with some false justification for it. Okay? Okay. For example, let's say you have an individual who believes that the police is there to protect us, the citizens. Okay? Let's say one believes this firmly, because that's how they were raised in school by the parents, all of that. So now they have this bias that the police has good intentions every time they act. So anytime they hear about someone being arrested by the police, they automatically assume the police did their investigation, their diligence, and the police has a good reason for arresting the individual. But one day, you share the news article with them. A man spent 48 years in prison for a murder he did not commit. Guess what? The individual, once they're exposed to this news article, they will either say, man, it must be fake news. It's a way for them to brush it off. Because this news reveals on them, on a minute, the police is not always on your side as a citizen. Sometimes the police can be corrupt also. They don't want to deal with that. Or if it's confirmed, a real case, if someone spent 48 years in prison for a murder not commit, they would say, well, it may have not been the police nor the judge. Maybe the guy was guilty of something else, or maybe he brought it on himself that he got convicted like that. Maybe he had a bad lawyer. So the fact is, someone spent decades in prison for a murder that they didn't even commit, and the actual guilty party just lived life. That's a great injustice. So the question becomes, what were the police and the criminal justice system doing back then? How come they couldn't make such a big failure? So in this case, even the mainstream media admits the police force as well as the criminal justice system, they failed. And it's an embarrassment that they failed. Another question becomes, how come it took so long for them to admit the failure and release the man from prison? That means there was a political agenda to cover up the failure. That means that as a citizen, whether the probability is high or low, something like that can happen to you too. Or here's another question: where were the relatives and of this family? Weren't they rooting for him? Another thing: where was the population in checking on their authorities? Shouldn't the population keep their authority figures in check? And now this information came out that a guy spent decades in prison for a murder he didn't even commit, and the actual guilty party just lived life. How come the public is not outraged demanding reform of the criminal justice system and all of that? So that fact alone of this scandal, of this wrongful conviction that cost one decades of their life, and the real guilty party just got away with it, scot-free, this shows you that failure happens. And not and the failure is not because people are imperfect and they did the best they could. No, people just were sheer neglectful and they didn't care who went to prison. Let someone got to prison, they continued their ease, that's it. So that news article of this man that was wrongly convicted and spent decades in prison, while the real guilty party was scot-free out there, that alone should make this individual rethink their bias that the police is there to protect us. Because obviously there are many cases where the police was not there to protect the citizens. And sometimes when the police officer, even the perpetrators. The fact alone, you have former police officers that were investigated by their own police forces and then detained as criminals shows you that this whole bias that the police there to protect us is simply not true. You get me? So, if that individual is not willing to give up this wishful thinking, or the police is there to protect us, do you think you're going to be safe being involved with this individual? Let me know in the live chat. By the way, if you have to go to work now, whatever, you can always check the replay back, Derek. Not the problem. Okay, go back to the question. This individual who has his bias, the police there to protect us. Anytime someone is arrested, they assume there must be a good reason, and they brush it off. Will you be safe being involved with this individual? Let me know in the live chat. Alright? Let's see what you all guys are saying. I'm going to wait for 40 seconds more to see what you guys are saying. Will you be safe being involved with this individual? Let me know in the live chat, please. Let me check the live chat. Absolutely not. Because imagine someone makes a false allegation against you, and now there's a criminal investigation on you. Even though they can clearly see that allegations against you don't add up, even the police doesn't believe allegations, but hey, the fact there's an investigation going on, even the judges don't believe any of the allegations, but you do the investigation anyway so they can prove in a court of law that you're innocent. But now there's an investigation going against you. And now, because the investigation going against you, this individual, despite seeing that the whole case is nonsense, they will still, in a state of delusion, try to blame you for it happening to you. Or you must have done something wrong, or whatever. They can't just accept that bad things happen and that innocent people who are innocent of something can be blamed or can be tried or be convicted. They want to accept all of that. They're living in this fantasy bubble that, hey, if you just get along with society in a polite way, things go well with you. Such an individual is a huge liability. But hey, what if you don't examine the individual you're getting involved with? You may end up involved with them. You may even marry an individual like this, and later you think, who the heck did I marry? Or you may think, hold on a minute, who is this individual I'm friends with? What the heck? How did I end up being friends with such an individual? Because you didn't do your proper assessment. You get me? You didn't. And because you didn't do your proper assessment, now you ended up with an unsafe individual that's affecting your life and your well-being. How many of you have been through situations like this? That you got involved with someone, whether it was sexually or just as a friendship or at work or just in family. You just got involved with someone and later you thought, how the heck did I end up here? How many of you have gone through something like this before? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know. All right. For those of you who've been through things like this, one thing you'll have to admit about yourself always is that somewhere you did not pay attention to the warning symptoms concerning this individual. Somewhere you did not pay attention to what they were saying and how they were behaving. Look, someone does not have to be a narcissist, sociopath, or psychopath for them to be dangerous. Anyone who invests in wishful thinking is dangerous in the long run. I said in the long run. On the short term, you may be involved with them and be unharmed. But in the long run, any long term involvement with someone that invests in wishful thinking is harmful. If someone is invested in wishful thinking, I don't care what type of wishful thinking it is. Any type of wishful thinking, any type of expectation that's not rooted in reality. So an expectation has a low, anyone who holds on to an expectation with a low probability, I'm telling you, watch out with this individual. Rashid, what about walking by faith? Listen, walking by faith is not having a blind belief about something like they have in church. A lot of people going to churches, they have blind beliefs. The pastor said something based on the Bible, they believe it's going to happen. For example, you can go to a church and the pastor tells you, sow your seed, referring to your finances. So you pay your tithes and offerings faithfully to that church. And the pastor tells you, if you pay your tithes and offerings, you're gonna see miracles happening in your life, man. And everyone keeps confirming that. And because you trust that pastor, that he's a man of God, you see that the pastor has financial abundance in his life, you think, hey, if this is a man of God and he is blessed with financial abundance, so God will not bless an individual that's not trustworthy. So if God blesses him with financial abundance, then he's trustworthy and whatever he says is true. So that's why you listen to this pastor, you go to the church every Sunday faithfully, and you pay your tithes and offerings. But here's the issue. You assume based on your bias that he is a blessed man of God. Thing is he a blessed man of God? You assume that by his title as a pastor or a bishop. But just because he has the title of a pastor or a bishop and is recognized as that by society does not mean he's an actual blessed man of God. Okay? So your bias in seeing him as a blessed man of God also led to you trusting him. So now you have this blind belief that if you donate money to his church every Sunday, that you'll face miracles in life. But here's the issue. That's not walking by faith. Because there is no guarantee that donating money to his church is going to benefit you long term in your life. And that pastor can't even guarantee you that you'll have faced long term benefits by contributing financially to his church. He cannot. This pastor cannot even guarantee that you'll wake up tomorrow with all your body parts there and functioning. This pastor cannot even guarantee for himself that he'll wake up the next morning with all body parts functioning. So if this pastor can't even guarantee himself waking up the next morning, how the heck do you have such a blind trust and blind belief in this man? So you end up paying tithes and offerings for over 10 years. And the only thing that happened to you in those 10 years is that you became broke. You're in debt now. And opportunities pass you by. And you're depressed. And you think, what the heck happened? Let me tell you what happened. You had a bias that was not rooted in reality. You thought walking by faith means just listening to the pastor unconditionally. But that's not what walk by faith is. Walking by faith means you admit your vulnerable, fragile state as a human being and how interdependent you are. And you realize that the only one that can secure you is the Heavenly Father. And based on this, you trust Heavenly Father unconditionally and you act in this trust in daily life. So walking by faith is an activity. You operate in complete trust with the Heavenly Father. And that also means that you realize that it's only the Heavenly Father you can trust unconditionally, nobody else. So that means that you assess everyone else. That means in your life, you are doing your investigation to find out what God's will is for you in a given time. God may not tell you specifically what His will is for you at the time, but you're open to His guidance. That is walking by faith. So walking by faith is an assessment of reality, recognizing only the Heavenly Father can secure you. And by realizing this, you will assess everything in your life based on your relationship with the Heavenly Father. You get me? That is walking by faith. And in walking by faith, you know the Heavenly Father gave you guarantees. And only God can secure those guarantees He has given to you. Now you have to comply with the Heavenly Father's instructions concerning those guarantees, whether it's physical health, or whether it's financial abundance, or financial independence, or safety, or freedom, or being immune to violence. The Heavenly Father gave you um, guarantees, and only He can make sure those guarantees come to pass. But you have to participate in those guarantees for those guarantees to work for you. So it doesn't all depend on your doing, but your doing is part of you receiving the benefits of those guarantees, because the guarantees of Heavenly Father are there. But, but whether you're not benefit from those guarantees depends on you aligning yourself to those guarantees. So if the Heavenly Father gives you instructions on how to trust other people, those instructions are to make sure you don't end up yoked with the wrong people. If you comply with God's instructions, with God's commandments in that area, guess what? His guarantee of you being safe and free from violence, it will work out for you. You will have the benefit. But if you don't comply with God's instructions, you put yourself at risk, even though the guarantees are there for you. So walking by faith is reality-based, trusting the Heavenly Father's and the guarantees He gives you. And because you trust Him, you operate in alignment with those guarantees. Do you understand now what walking by faith truly is? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know. Let me know, please. All right. So it's clear what walking by faith truly is. So if someone tells you walking by faith doesn't work, following Jesus doesn't work, the Bible, Christianity doesn't work, listen, the religion called Christianity, established by Rome, the Catholic system, that doesn't work long term. We know that. But that's the religion that they call Christianity, which is actually pagan Christianity, the ancient Greek paganism with a Christian mosque. That's all it is. Real Christianity is walking with Christ in daily life. That's real Christianity. So that's not a religion. So if you say that, man, Christians, their religion doesn't work, listen, Christians shouldn't even be in religion. You have a religion called Christianity, but we shouldn't be involved in any religion at all. We should be spiritual, following Christ, abiding in Christ. So a lot of people don't even know what walking by faith is. I just explained to you. You can find the definition here and there in the Bible that walk by faith is an active is actually trusting in Father in daily life. So anyone, any believer, let me talk about believers, any believer with a blind belief, they're actually in unbelief. Because that blind belief means that they aren't fully trusting the Heavenly Father. Somewhere they don't trust the Heavenly Father, so they end up trusting someone else in an area they should trust God for. See what I mean? For example, I had believers say, well, miracles and sudden great things happening is something from the past. Today you just have to go through life accepting the reality of situations. Hold on, who told you that miracles and great outcomes will happen anymore? It is because most believers never experience miracles and great things happening in their life. That's why. And because most of them, if you look back at the grandparents, and the grandparents that have gone through it, they conclude, based on the experience and the outcomes of those around them, that the time of miracles only in the time of the Bible. That doesn't apply for today. Even though that's completely false. And why are they believing that? Because they rely on the experience of other people to see what's probable for them. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're involved in the business world, you need to pay attention to other people's experience and where to invest, where not to invest. That's different. But to rely your whole life on someone else, on the experience of other people who failed, I'm sorry, that's not a good idea. If you have believers that failed in life and you rely on their experience, I'm sorry, you're going to fail too. That's unbelief. And beliefs like this end up developing blind beliefs to local churches. So they are in unbelief. All right? Why am I highlighting all of this? Because we need to understand that you cannot be involved with people that invest in wishful thinking and in the long run expect good outcomes. Now, you may say, but Rashid, so many people have wishful thinking, including believers. Wishful thinking is so normal around here. What to do now? Listen, I'm not telling you to isolate yourself, become a loner. I'm not telling you to isolate yourself to some Pacific island where you're all by yourself. I'm not telling you to do any of that. You have to be around other people, whether believers or unbelievers. You just have to learn how to involve yourself with them in a safe way. Don't just involve them based on comparison. That's another thing believers do. A lot of believers still have this fairy tale of wanting this personal universe where they are unbothered and at ease. God never promised that. God promised you safety, but He didn't promise you that you'll be in some unbothered bubble of ease. God didn't ever promise you that. So believers still have this Babylon thinking, this worldly thinking of only this private bubble, this private universe, what they call this personal space, privacy, whatever you want to call it. Those believers, they're operating on belief. Now, can you involve yourself with a belief like that? Yes, you can, but only short term. Very short term. Long term, being around a believer like that as a fellow believer, you are unequally yoked. And when you're unequally yoked, man, you are in trouble. Because all your blessings are hindered now. Simple as that. So if someone has wishful thinking, but they're open to self-reflect, develop self-awareness, and improve, such an individual, just keep them around. You get me? Because, A, at some point they may change. I'm not telling you to wait for them to change. Just keep them around because if they are realistic, willing to improve, okay, there's high probability will improve. Till they improve, keep them at a safe distance, but we can keep them around as an option to get involved with. But if someone is resisting accountability and resisting facing their own bias, by the way, there's nothing wrong with having a bias. But a bias should be based on reality. Look, if you are a crime detective, your bias is to distrust people unless there's proof, because a lot of people lie when it comes to investigations. This bias can be helpful for you when you're doing your work, but aside of work, it can be quite damaging. For example, someone that's a lawyer has a bias to look at the legality of stuff, because that's what you do as a lawyer. So that bias is practical when he practices law. Outside of that, he needs to watch out with it. So there's nothing wrong with having a bias. All human beings have biases. That's part of being human. But your biases must be accounted for with proof and reality. If you have a bias that can't be based in reality, I'm telling you, that bias is not in line with reality. It will become a delusion over time if you keep holding on to it. So understand this. If someone is not willing to face their own biases and to examine their bias. By the way, if a bias can be justified with fact and proof, and even with being Christ-centered, okay, then the bias can only be applied here and there. That's different. But if someone is not even willing to admit nor examine their own biases, I'm just telling you, that individual is a walking time bomb. They are. You need to recognize these things about people on time so that you can actually limit your involvement with them on time. I'm not telling you to ghost them. I'm not telling you to just cut them off like they don't matter. Just lower your involvement with them. Make excuses to stay away from them. Don't go to their houses that often. Don't even go to their house at all. And don't even invite them to your house unnecessarily. Unless they're there, to help you out with something. But even then, keep them at a distance as much as possible. This is the reason why so many believers don't break through and they go from misfortune to misfortune. They do not assess the people they're involved with. If someone is invested in wishful thinking, no matter what type of wishful thinking it is, if you stay long-term involved with them, you become unequally yoked and you are in danger. And the thing is, you put yourself in danger by not assessing this individual and realizing you need to keep a little bit of safe distance from this individual. You cannot engage unsafe people and have safe outcomes. Safety is not something you get from the outside. Safe is something you become from the inside out. Safe is an inside job. You have to be the safe individual. So you end up walking in safety. But a lot of people are not even safe individuals because they invest in wishful thinking. They think, oh, I carry a gun with me, so I have protection. Or they think, ah, well, the police doing a good job. Nothing bad can happen to me over here. Or listen, there's a difference between a proper assessment and wishful thinking. If people in environment are not prone to violence and they're quite peaceful, there is a low probability that someone will try to rob you, whatever. Even when the possibilities there is not really probable. But to think that this can never ever happen here because you only have good people around here, sorry. Bad people can break into good places too. So, just so you know. What I'm saying is, someone has to be safe for you to involve yourself with them. Again, an unsafe individual is not automatically an evil individual. No. Now, evil people, whether narcissists, sociopaths, or psychopaths, no matter what level of reprobation you have, evil people are just, they're bad news anyway. You know they're bad news, and you know that you shouldn't avoid them. But it isn't just evil people that end up being dangerous to be around. Anyone, believer or unbeliever, yes, including believers, anyone invests in wishful thinking, in the long run, they're dangerous to be around. You're not safe amongst them because they're not safe people. And some of them are not evil, but just bad people because they're neglectful. You hear me? But even if someone is not a bad individual, they're not evil, nor are they bad. They can still be dangerous and a high risk to be around if they are invested in wishful thinking. So I want you to make better assessments in your daily life. Who are you dealing with? No, not who are you dealing with. What are you dealing with? Are you dealing with a human being that's willing to have self-awareness, self-reflect, and improve where necessary, no matter how difficult it is? If that's an individual dealing with, you're dealing with a safe individual. If they're still an unbeliever, they are still stuck with cycles. You still need to be a bit cautious with them. But hey, at least they're a safe person internally. It doesn't mean that they are that they are that they cannot make errors. It simply means their attitude is a safe attitude. They're safe towards themselves and towards other people. They can still make errors, don't get me wrong, and if they're unbelievers with issues, they can still be hacked by demons. But hey, at least you have someone who's very hard for demons to use because hey, an individual with a safe attitude, it's very hard for demons to use them. But let's say now you have a believer, not an unbeliever, but a believer, and the believer has wishful thinking continuously. They continuously complain about other people over and over again, but you never heard them talk about solutions. That's because they want to escape somewhere. When you're dealing with a believer with wishful thinking, hey, I'm just telling you, you're not safe around that believer. Let's say a fellow believer is on some type of distraction right now. And because the believer is operating confusion, even though it's just a temporal thing, you know the believer will snap out of it while they're still under that confusion, they're not safe to be around. It doesn't mean they're evil or bad people. It simply means that they're not safe to be around right now. You really have to assess what you're dealing with, people. Believers, you need to assess what you're dealing with. This is the reason why so many of you keep going through bad situations. That's why a lot of your prayers are hindered. That's why that breakthrough just doesn't happen in your life. Look who you are yoked with. When you're yoked with someone, that's an agreement you are in. Let's say someone believes in, let's say someone is quite nonchalant in life. They just don't bother much with anything. You may not agree with that attitude, but by you being long-term involved with them, even though you internally don't agree with the attitude, you still agree with the attitude externally by enabling it. You know what I mean? Your long-term involvement with someone is an agreement with whatever climate you both are in. Am I telling you to just use people and ditch them? No, I'm just telling you, if you have some involvement with someone, keep yourself at a safe distance and make sure your involvement is not long term. If you're around someone for the long term because they're a relative or an in-law, whatever, even then, your involvement must have pauses here and there. You can't stay continuously long-term involved with someone who's invested in wishful thinking, because that individual is not safe. And by being yoked with them, you are endangering yourself. And that's the thing with a lot of believers. When they look back on their life, they'll realize, hold on a minute, I endangered myself by not making a proper assessment. So we need to stop that, believers. We really need to stop that. We need to learn to make proper assessments of other people. Absolutely. Amen? Now, are there any questions about this topic? Please let me know in the live chat, please. Thank you very much. Okay, someone already asked a question. Okay, is for us to grow. Ask the question. And so you are susceptible to what befalls them because of your proximity? Absolutely. If someone, because of their wishful thinking, has danger haunting them, you being in proximity to that individual means that danger can affect you too. You end up becoming collateral damage for what's haunting them. Now, if someone is a victim and they're being targeted by bad people, and you are around them, of course you're going to be affected too. But it's not that this individual actually harms you. It's like when you are walking around and someone pulls out a gun and shoots at someone. You being close to that individual, once the individual is shot, you may get some of the blood spatters on your shirt, traumatizing you. You were not the target of the shooting, the other individual was, but because you stood close to that individual, once they're shot, it affects you too. Traumatically, it affects you psychologically because someone is shot right in front of you, and also physically, you have blood spatters on you. Well, that's how it is in daily life in general. If someone, I'm not talking about people who are the victim, okay? They're the ones being victimized. I'm not talking about people like that, okay? I'm not talking about people who are scapegoats. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about people who are neglectful in not facing and processing their own biases. Someone invested in wishful thinking, they are not a victim anymore. Up, if they had wishful thinking and they got in trouble and now they're reflecting and trying to find out what goes on, they are a victim that's turning into an overcomer. Why? Because they were a victim, they were taken advantage of, but now they realize, "Hold on a minute, what can I do to be better?" They're not a victim anymore. They now become an overcomer. But what if someone is continuously in bad situations and they never even assess what they can do better for themselves? This individual is a collaborator. They're collaborating with the toxicity. They're collaborating with the bad situation. They may not be evil people, okay? They may not be a narcissist, sociopath, or psychopath. They may not be evil nor bad. But the fact that they collaborate with bad situations means that they're guilty for doing that. That means that they are part of the problem. It's one thing when you're naive and you don't know better. It's one thing when you're mentally ill and you can't think straight and you need intervention. That's all different. If you're mentally ill or you're still damaged by how you were raised and you need help, that's different. But once you realize that something is off and you need to improve and you don't face the fact you need to improve, you're not the victim anymore. You are a collaborator. And let me tell you, being in a proximity with a collaborator, you will end up becoming collateral damage sooner or later. I'm telling you. Because the collaborator is a collaborator because they're not willing to face themselves and improve and become a safe individual. The victim, once you confront them, say, "Hey, you can be better," it may be painful for them, but eventually, they, if they decide to be realistic, they will become better, and hey, you can work things out with them. But the collaborator, they are in toxic denial, and because of that, they're part of the problem. They're part of the bad situation. So you now have to remove yourself from the bad situation, which includes remove yourself from them because they are the bad situation. They and all the other people are the bad situation. They may not be the villains, they may not be the perpetrators, they may not be the monsters, but they are the ones enabling the monsters because of their own toxic denial. You get me? For example, if, if, for example, let's say you're married, okay, and your mother-in-law is quite angry and bitter all the time, and even your son asks, "Mom, why is grandma always so hurtful when she speaks?" But your husband tells you, it's just my mom, just the way she is. Your husband is in toxic denial. Instead of him admitting how toxic and even harmful his own mother is by behaving that way, I don't care if your mother-in-law is not a narcissist and not whether she's not a reprobate nor an evil or bad individual. The fact she is continuing in this function, not facing herself, means that now she's bad news to be around. Now, even your little son, your son together notices it, who's a child. How come your husband, a grown man, is not admitting it? Because he's a collaborator with her toxicity. That's why. And he needs to repent from that. Listen, do not stay in proximity to a collaborator. It's not always easy to see the difference between a collaborator and a victim. It's not always clear. That's why you need to do your assessment clearly. If someone is making improvement while they go through a bad situation, A, they're making improvement, they're serious about facing themselves, give them space to recover, or help them from a distance. Simple as that. But if someone, whether they're in trouble or not, they always resist examining themselves and examining people around them, I'm telling you, that's a collaborator. I don't even care if they are a believer that you fellowship with. I don't care how loving and kind your history with this believer is. Even if you were, I don't care how loving, kind, and close you were this believer. The moment they turn into a collaborator because they want to face something, I'm telling you, you need to walk away. You need to lower contact, lower involvement with them. Simple as that. It's possible. It's probable to have safe outcomes and blessed outcomes in life. It's possible to have good and loving and great outcomes in life. It's possible. Despite the fallen state of mankind, despite the evilness of this world, it is possible to have great, blessed outcomes. But that's only probable when you obey the Heavenly Father's instructions. That means also pay attention to your intuition. When your intuition sounds alarm not individual, you don't know what goes on. Just be a bit reserved and do your research. For you to have safety, you have to be a safe person, which also means you mainly engage only other safe persons. For you to be safe as a human being, you have to be a safe individual. That means you mainly engage other safe individuals too. You can't be engaging unsafe individuals and expect safety and good outcomes. Not going to happen. All right? Now, are there any questions about this topic? Please let me know in the live chat now. Let me know. Again, don't just assume someone is a collaborator. Don't just do that and become paranoid. Again, don't become paranoid and don't become paranoid, hyper vigilant, and start losing your mind. Don't do that. Okay? Just make a proper assessment based on facts and proof. If someone is just a victim, you can coach from a distance, hold them accountable, and tell them you can be better, do better. And with a constructive criticism, they'll end up doing better, likely. But if someone is a collaborator, lower your involvement with them, even if they are a believer, especially if they are a believer, lower your involvement with them. Obey God's commandment, please. Any questions? I'm going to wait 1 more minute. If I don't get any questions in a minute, I'm going to wait 2 minutes. If I don't get any questions in 2 minutes, I'm going to close on the live stream. Are there any questions? Let me know. 1 more minute. If I get no question in a minute, I'll close on the live stream. So let me know if you have any questions about this topic. Okay, so almost examples of collaboration. Okay. I already gave one, but let me give one another one because you may not hear it. Let me give another one. Let's say um, the police comes to arrest. The police arrest someone, but they overuse force on the individual. For example, someone is drunk shouting around. Instead of just grabbing an individual in a peaceful way and handcuff them, they end up slapping the individual and all of that. Any judge can say this is overuse of force, it's just violence. And the police officer will be charged for assault. But now you have people around saying, well, if the guy just would have complied, this wouldn't have happened. No, 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 no. The police officer should have behaved himself. He gets training to do that. Even if the guy was escalating, you have a taser to bring someone down. And after you use the taser, you can just handcuff them and bring them in. You just jumping on them, putting your knee on their neck, or putting your sitting on their chest and all of that, like sometimes happens, those body cam footages. What the heck is that? Anyone could see that this goes too far. Whether someone is guilty or not, you don't treat people that way. Just that goes too far. But what if there are always people making excuses for how the police did? Well, if you were in the same situation, listen, those are collaborators. That means if the police would ever go too far with you, they would allow it to happen. And sometimes those police encounters can even become fatal for the one arrested. That is a type of collaboration. Someone not willing to admit the fact, okay, this goes too far, this doesn't add up. Another example. Let's say that you just lost a loved one, and now you're in therapy because of it. And because that you still go to work, you clock in on time and all of that. But your productivity is a bit lower because of what you're going through. And now your employer warns you that he's going to fire you if you don't go up. And a lot of people around you, including your colleagues, make excuses. Well, you're coming to work, you have to work, you have to do this and that. The thing is, you're not messing up at work. You're just working at a lower pace. Why a slower pace? Because you're going through some difficult time in your life. A judge, let's say your employer fires you. A lawyer can say, hold on a minute. You came to work on time, you did the job, you behaved at work, you were just operating a bit slower because because of your because of your mental health, you're going through something difficult. A lawyer can tell you that based on the laws of the land, your employer violated the law, and he can be charged. Even the judge would agree with this. But now, let's say you have a mother. A mother tells you, well, Kevin, and you need to work hard. If you don't work hard, no matter what happens in life, you need to work hard. Now your mother, with her wishful thinking, is now justifying the wrong done to you. It's not like you always came on late or you were reckless at work. You did your job, you came on time, but the thing is, you just couldn't be at your full capacity because you were going through a bad situation. A situation you didn't do to yourself. You hear me? So in that case, your mom is a collaborator with you being violated by the employer. You hear me? Let me give just one more example of collaboration. What if you see that, okay, I'm going to use the example of the United States, of police brutality. You see a lot of footage of police officers being chased by suspects, even with military weapons or axes, and still the policeman should talk to them psychologically, calm them down, and bring them in for interrogation. And then you see other body cam footage of police officers, and they immediately begin to scream, shout, and someone is unarmed, and they end up shooting and killing an unarmed individual. And then the judge says, well, the police was under stress, so the police didn't do anything wrong over here. But then you think, hold on a minute. What about all these other instances when police officers were even chased by defendants with military weapons, even with axes, and they got in unharmed, in custody? And how come this unarmed individual suddenly ends up dying? And then you see that the unarmed individuals end up dying are often people from a certain demographic. And the people who end up surviving are from another demographic. So it's obvious that the lives of certain people aren't as felt as much in the United States as the lives of some others. That's obvious for any outsider to see. But then you have people make excuse, well, the police officer's under stress, or if you just want to comply to the police officer or whatever. No, no, no. If police can bring in even raging suspects or aren't in a calm way, then they should be able to do that all the time. The fact that with a certain demographic, you know which demographic I'm talking about, it keeps going wrong, they end up dying and they're unarmed, shows you that there is a bias there that certain lives don't really matter, which is quite dangerous. And anyone who denies this and makes excuses is part of the racial violence that goes on. Simple as that. You don't have to join some liberal march in the streets, but at least you need to admit something's wrong and needs to be addressed. Anyone willing to admit this and call it out, they're part of the problem because they likely benefit of the problem. Simple as that. So that's another example of collaboration. Again, beware with collaborators of wrongdoing and evil, and beware with them. It's one thing to be naive. It's one thing to be uncertain about the situation, but it's a whole other thing to clearly have proof that something's off and you still make excuses based on your own bias. You don't want to give up. If there's proof, and someone still keeps holding on to their bias that is proven not to be correct, I'm telling you, dealing with a collaborator, lower contact and involvement such individual. I don't care how loving and kind they are towards you. They can love you and be fond of you. And they can be loyal towards you. The fact they're like that means at some point there are going to be an outlet of demonic assaults on you. I'm telling you, even there are believers. You hear me? So again, beware with collaborators. Okay, I didn't see any other questions. Thank you all for being here. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Become a member of the channel too. Share this live stream. Hit the like button. And don't forget, donate with the links below. Well, thank you all for being here. Keep on agreeing with Christ. And